Hello children, we have already completed morphology of flowering plants, in which we have completed root, stem, leaf along with their modifications, followed by inflorescence and the floral characters. At the end we have learned seed and the types of fruit, and then two families, one family Solanaceae and the other family Liliaceae. Let us move on to the next topic. Under plant anatomy, anatomy deals with the internal structure of an organism. But to learn internal structure of plants, we must have knowledge of plant tissues. Tissue is group of cells having same origin, same structure and hence performing similar function. Before we deal with plant tissue, I'll just introduce how the plant cell looks. In the next unit, we are learning detailed account of plant cell, but to learn this plant tissue, you have to remember certain features of ideal plant cell. The shape may be anything, okay? Here I have taken polygonal plant cell, means having many sides. The plant cell is covered by cell wall. It is not continuous, it shows plasmodesmata. These are intercellular connections for the transport. Inner to that, there is a continuous layer and it is cell membrane. It is semi-permeable in nature. Inside the cell membrane, this we call protoplast. In the protoplast, this is peripheral nucleus having chromatin network. Then maximum space within the plant cell is occupied by the vacuole. It is a storage organelle. Then there is photosynthetic unit in the plant cell. This we call plastid. Plastid rich in chlorophyll we call chloroplastid. So generally I'll call this as plastid. It is powerhouse of the cell known as mitochondria. Then there is a storage organelle within the cell. This storage organelle is known as endoplasmic reticulum. And this cell organelle is having the factories of proteins called as ribosomes. And there is a packaging unit, means the raw biomolecules are stored in endoplasmic reticulum according to the need. The components are supplied to the Golgi complex. It is known as packaging unit of the cell. This is the standard living functional plant cell. Try to remember these features. There are two membranes, cell wall and cell membrane. Cell wall is with plasmodesmata. Inner to cell membrane, the protoplast, a living functional mass, constitute a controlling unit nucleus, the storage organelle vacuole, photosynthetic unit plastid, energy production by mitochondria, storage of biomolecules in raw form in the endoplasmic reticulum, proteins are synthesized on the ribosomes and the processing will go on the Golgi complex. Okay, so just this is to remember the components in the plant cell. Move back to the plant tissues, which are broadly classified into two types: meristematic tissue, permanent tissue. Meristos. This word introduced by a person whose name was Nageli. Meristos means to divide. So this tissue having the cells which are continuously dividing by mitosis, and that's why meristematic tissue is responsible for overall growth in the plant body. Now this meristematic tissue having embryonic cells. When the cells divide grow and start differentiating to perform the functions, they inhibit division ability and they become mature. Then it will form permanent tissue. So differentiated is permanent, undifferentiated is meristem. Meristem responsible for growth, permanent tissue is performing various functions in the plant body. Now this meristematic tissue is classified based on the origin, location, function and the plane of division. Based on the origin, meristematic tissue is classified into primary meristem and secondary meristem. All the plants during the first year of their growth, they will have dividing tissue located at the apex of the shoot and the root and located at the nodal regions, while only dicotyledonous plants for perennial growth, means they are living for many years. So after completion of first year of growth, when they go on second year, third year of their lifespan, they need extra tissues which are derived from secondary meristem. So primary meristem is common in all the plants. They remain in embryonic phase right from birth till death of the plant body, while secondary meristem, it is developing from permanent tissue and it is more functional and found in dicotyledonous plants. If you look at the plant body, apex of the shoot and apex of the root, length, linear growth of the plant body is due to apical meristem. Then on the shoot system, there are junctions called nodes from which the leaf develops, the branch develops, bud develops, blooms into flower, and after reproduction, fruit and the seed. So all these lateral parts are derivatives of intercalary meristem. So apical and intercalary meristem is common in all the plants, but dicot plants, as they are perennial, they increase in girth. Girth is a diameter. Okay, shoot and root increases its diameter. Instead of diameter, remember the word girth, G-I-R-T-H. So increase in girth of the plant is because of lateral meristem. So here primary meristem is apical and intercalary, while secondary meristem is always lateral in position. Then as the tissues start dividing, during differentiation, when it gives outermost layer, which is usually protective in nature, it is known as protoderm. So meristem differentiate into epidermal tissue system is protoderm. Now inside the epidermis, there is a layer called hypodermis, then cortex, then stele. So these are different layers within the plant body. So considering this as epidermis in transverse section, then this will become hypodermis, then this will become cortex, and this will become stele. So outermost protective layer is differentiated from protoderm. Then hypodermis, cortex and stele, it is developing from ground meristem. And here the tissue develops xylem and phloem. These are vascular tissues. These are differentiated from procambium. So protoderm will give rise epidermal tissue system. Ground meristem differentiate into peripheral tissue system, and procambium will differentiate into vascular tissue system. Then, as I said, meristos, they are always in division plane. When the cells start dividing vertically, right, it is said to be file meristem. When the division plane is horizontal, then it is plate meristem, and plane of division is not fixed. The cells divide in any plane, it gives mass, so it is called mass meristem. So when you see the dividing cells appearing like a files arranged in the cupboard, or the plates arranged one upon the other forming the pile. So based on the plane of division, file meristem, plate meristem and mass meristem. This is overall classification of the meristem. Now if you see the ideal meristematic cell under microscope, it is either rectangular or oval, compact in arrangement. It has as usual cell wall, cell membrane, but in meristematic cell, we can see big nucleus in the center, exactly opposite. Big nucleus in the center and many mitochondria. Remaining cell organelles are still not developed as the cells are in division phase. This is the ideal cell from permanent tissue, showing all the functional components, right? Then once the tissue divides, it start elongating, differentiate, it lack capacity to divide, it become permanent. Now based on the mass of cells forming a tissue, there are two types of permanent tissues. All cells whose origin is common, structure is same, and hence function is also same, they will form simple permanent tissue. It is also called as homogeneous tissue. And when the cells are of different types but they come together to carry some important function in the plant body, it is complex permanent tissue. It is also known as heterogeneous tissue. So permanent tissues are of two types. Simple or homogeneous means all cells are similar in size, shape and function, while complex tissue cells are from different origin and they work together. No doubt the functions may be different, but they work together as one unit. Under simple permanent tissue, the most fundamental widely distributed tissue in the plant body is parenchyma. This parenchyma is having this kind of structure in each cell. It is having functional vacuole, peripheral nucleus, all cell organelles are in functional state. When parenchyma is present in leaf region or herbaceous stem region, it is having maximum plastids, then we call chlorenchyma. It is a parenchyma modified for photosynthesis. Then in the hydrophytes, the plant living in water, usually floating on the water surface, it is called buoyancy. Ability of a plant part to float on the water surface is called buoyancy. So to attain buoyancy, the parenchyma cells will store air in between the cells in the intercellular space. Then it is called aerenchyma. I'll give you one example. If you cut banana leaf, we can see the spongy texture. That is nothing but aerenchyma tissue. Then in the cortex region, what I have shown here, the cortex region where parenchyma cells are storing the food material, it is said to be prosenchyma. And in cactus or xerophytes, the plant living in deserts, they are storing water. So it is water tissue. So based on the functions, parenchyma is modified, right? Then collenchyma and parenchyma, these both are living tissues. They have functional nucleus and functional cell organelles. Parenchyma is found everywhere in the plant body, but collenchyma is present only in aerial parts, in the shoot system. This is the only tissue absent in the root system. This collenchyma is having thick cell wall. It is due to deposition of pectin. Parenchyma and meristem will have thin cell wall, which is primary, made up of cellulose. So pectinized cell wall is found in collenchyma. Now based on the pectin deposition, there are three types. If this is the parenchyma cell and if the pectin deposition is at one side and this is one more cell, again pectin deposition. So along the tangential walls, then it is called lamellar collenchyma. If this is the collenchyma and at the angles we can see the thickening of pectin, it is said to be angular collenchyma. And if the cells are loosely arranged, cell wall is thick from all the sides but leaving air-filled spaces in between, it is called lacunar collenchyma. So based on pectin deposition, lamellar, angular and lacunar. Then the dead simple tissue in the plant body, dead means the cell wall is very thick, it is deposited by lignin and all these components are absent. So here only cavity is available. That's why it is called dead tissue in the plant body for mechanical support and protection. Fibers are elongated sclerenchyma cells with pointed ends. They are usually associated with xylem and phloem. Fibers are elongated cells with pointed tapering ends. with narrow lumen. Lumen is cavity. While sclerites are having different shapes. This is star-shaped, astroscleroid. This is rod-like, macroscleroid. This is like a bone. It is known as osteoscleroid. This is like a needle, known as trichoscleroid. And the spherical ones, these are called brachyscleroids. So based on the shape, we divide scleroids into 5 types, and these are generally called stone cells due to its harder, gritty nature. When you eat chiku or peru, guava, while eating you feel grittiness in the mouth. It is because of the scleroids. Yeah. Then complex permanent tissues are of 2 types: xylem for water conduction, phloem for food conduction. As I said, it is a complex tissue. So main conducting elements who will carry water from root to leaves are called trachea elements. They are nourished by xylem parenchyma and mechanically supported by xylem fibers. So fibers for support, parenchyma for nourishment, and actual water conduction is by trachea elements. Same, phloem is having sieve elements who will carry the solutes from photosynthetic region to non-photosynthetic region, and they are nourished by phloem parenchyma and mechanically supported by phloem fibers. This is introduction to the plant tissue topic. You need to write this chart neatly in the notebook, then try to memorize the points. Nothing is asked in your final exam, but this is important topic to learn physiological aspects. With this, I'll conclude my today's